Good evening. Thank you, Bryce. Thank you, Luke. Paige Santos has set a high bar tonight. I'll see how I get on. Congratulations. Congratulations to all the winners and all the nominees. All of you and all of us are, really blessed to be able to participate in this beautiful game of soccer. So keep playing, keep coaching, and keep enjoying it for sure. I'm pleased to join you tonight with several of my teammates. We, as the new Major League Soccer club for Charlotte and North and South Carolina, are grateful to be a part of this. And I'm personally very happy to be back or to be joining the soccer community of Charlotte. Which sounds funny because I spent the last 10 years in soccer, but I came here to be a Carolina Panther. I was hopeful that perhaps we could do a little bit more, but I came as a Panther, which is not a bad thing. And we've had a great week, an exciting week at the Panthers with the addition of Matt Rule. We're all excited about that over in the building. But we wanted to do more, and 4 weeks ago, we got some really good news, which is that we would be bringing a Major League Soccer club here to Charlotte. So we worked our butts off to do it, and it's going to be amazing. I was asked by a journalist 1 or 2 days after that announcement. I was asked, how do you feel about bringing soccer to Charlotte? And I said, we're not bringing soccer to Charlotte. Soccer's here. Soccer's been here. It's been here for decades. It's here in this room. It's in the city. It's across both states. We're just the lucky folks who get to bring this new team to add to what's already here and to unleash the power of soccer that's already been here. So we're really, really happy to do that. We're going to build together with all of you and people throughout the city and the region a new homegrown club that we'll build together, and we have really high expectations of what that's going to be. So tonight, I'd like to talk about maybe two things. One, I want to tell you a little bit about my story in soccer and my experiences, and then secondly, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about what we'd like to do with our new Major League Soccer club. So in terms of my story, I've just turned 51, and my experience in soccer covers 20 of my 51 years. The first 10 were from age 6 to age 16. At age 6, I played my first game. I scored an own goal. I thought I had scored a goal for my team. I found out I hadn't. Very embarrassing. How many have done that? No? Yeah, not many. Luckily, I wasn't deterred. I got a good pat in the back from my dad, and I kept going. And I played through my sophomore year in high school, where I was not invited to continue after that. Happens to all of us at some point. I was an average right winger, mediocre right foot, pretty bad left foot, decent pace, but a lot of heart and a lot of hustle, which got me through my sophomore year. So that was my first 10 years, and then my next 10 was age 39 to 49, and just finished recently. And I hadn't spent a whole lot of time in soccer between because I was playing basketball and in school and getting married and raising my family, and working in baseball and working in NBA basketball. But I got really lucky. I got invited to move to England by 6 guys who were buying Derby County over in at that time, the English Premier League, on a record low points total. Does anybody remember when Derby only had 11 points when they got relegated? Still a record low. That was my year. But we weren't totally responsible because we went in late January, so they had 7 points. We knew it was going down. But I got lucky because I had 4 great years there, and then, as you heard, 6 great years with Manchester City, which took me to some amazing places. And in addition to around the UK and in the Premier League, to the Allianz Stadium and the Bernabeu and Camp Nou, and to Milan and to Moscow and to Paris, to Naples, to Amsterdam, to some amazing places. And I feel really, really grateful to have had those experiences. And some of the things that, and what I thought I might talk about tonight, are some of the people that I met. And I thought I would do it through some of the players that you might recognize, because some of the best parts of working in sports and working in soccer has been the people and the relationships. So I don't have a clicker, but if we roll to the next slide. Are there any Chelsea fans in the house? All right, so just to wind you up, I have a picture of Frank Lampard in a Man City jersey. But Frank was with us at Man City for a season, and then he was with us in New York as we launched our MLS team back in 2015. Frank's just a top person, obviously an amazing pro, one of the best the Premier League has ever seen, but just kind of a model professional in every way, a great teacher and leader of other young players. That was my experience with Frank. A real gentleman, and so it's no surprise to see now as manager of Chelsea that, with a very young squad and a transfer ban, that he has them in the top four. So Frank was special. Who's next? Andrea Pirlo. So we also had Andrea in New York at the same time when we launched this team. Frank used to love that he could walk around Manhattan, and this is true for many European players when they play in Major League Soccer, and they don't get recognized, right? Now, we would all recognize them, but many of our friends who don't follow soccer as closely would not. Pirlo always got recognized. He was Mr. Cool, the ultimate playmaker, a bit impish, mysterious, but he was fantastic and fun to get to know. I think next up I have two players together. In blue, of course, is David Villa, possibly the best striker that Spain has ever seen, leading goal scorer for Spain. Between these two guys, they've won like everything. So Villa, 2010 World Cup, 2008 Euros, both for Spain, Champions League with Barcelona, MVP of MLS. He's won lots more than that. Next to him is Patrick Vieira. Patrick, captain of France, won the World Cup, he was captain of Arsenal, won multiple Premier League titles, multiple FA Cups with Arsenal, went to Inter Milan, won 3 Serie A. So he's done everything. Both lovely guys. And Patrick had a chance to manage David in New York. I first met Patrick. He finished his career at Manchester City. He wasn't sure what he wanted to do, and so we got him involved in a number of things. He ultimately went on to management. And he was there a couple years before I did, but I had a chance to get to know him best in a car ride from Manchester over to Liverpool. We had a game against Everton, and we were just going to sit in the director's box and watch the game. And so we pulled up to Goodison Park in Liverpool, and Patrick didn't play for Everton or Liverpool, but he was certainly well known, and it was remarkable to see how popular he was. And this is the loveliest guy you'd ever meet off the pitch, a real gentleman. But on the pitch, you wouldn't want any part of him. He was as tough as it got. And what the lesson I got from Patrick was how to work an autograph line. So we had to walk about a quarter mile from the parking lot to the entrance to the director's box, and he shook every hand, he signed every autograph, he took every photo, and he did it in motion the entire time. So we actually got there pretty quickly. I moved from Derby County to Manchester City in the summer of 2012. And so 7 years ago, Manchester United and Manchester City were starting the year, or finishing the year, going into the last game on equal points, and Manchester City had a positive goal advantage. So all they had to do was get the same result. And of course, they made it complicated. I watched this game on the sofa in my house in Derby, knowing I was going to Manchester City, but not having announced it, trying to rationalize if they lost that it would still be okay to be marketing a second-place team and we could take them up from there. So Manchester City was a remarkable place. If we go on to the next slide, 2 years ago, which was my last year there, set all sorts of records. This team that ultimately became called the Centurions. Amongst those, they were the first team to score 100 points. I think we have another slide with some of the records. Most goals, biggest goal difference, biggest gap to second place. They may have even scored as many goals as Lincoln High School that year. I can't remember, but or maybe as many as the top 2 strikers at Lincoln High School. But that was fun. And then, of course, followed it up the next year with a team that got called the Formidables. I began the season with this team, and I finished the season here in Charlotte, so it was fun to follow them. They added the Community Shield and the FA Cup that year, again winning the Premier League and again winning the Carabao Cup. So that was fantastic. But I think the great thing about the Manchester City project is that it was about building a proper football club, regenerating a section of the city, and getting every bit of that football club right. And that included putting a world-class women's team together, which I think is our next slide. And as an American, it was really weird to me going over in 2008 and not seeing the same amount of girls and women's football that I was used to and that we're all used to here in the United States. Very strange because, of course, football was born, or so they say, in England. I think it's accurate. But there was a different mindset, and it just was played less. But I saw it change radically over a 10-year period. And lots of clubs, and Manchester City was a part of that, and we tried to do our part and put a full professional setup in place, full-time salaries, all the same training for our women's team as our men's team, and we ended up getting great results and winning lots of trophies. And it became a great place to play, so lots of the American stars are going over to England and playing, including, you recognize this player, Carly Lloyd, who came over and played with us in 2017, which is a lot of fun, and she was another top professional and person as well as a player. So as I think about and I reflect on the different players that I met over there, and some of these that I've mentioned, or others, and if I had to choose a Manchester City player, there are so many good choices for the quality of their game, someone like a David Silva, or for how they behave as a person, someone like a Pablo Zabaleta, played right back, recently retired, or as a leader, someone like Vincent Kompany. But my favorite player was Kevin De Bruyne, still is, he's still playing. Kevin was a complete footballer, passing, dribbling, intelligent, competitive, direct, unselfish. That's what I love about Kevin De Bruyne. And I do love him, and all of these players are great players, but I was actually thinking as I was thinking about all these players and my experiences of who my favorite footballer is. And it's probably somebody you've never heard of. So I think, well, here he is. Who knows Sean Barker? Does anybody heard of Sean Barker? Okay. Sean Barker played for us at Derby County. He was the captain of Derby for 3 of the 4 years that I was there. He's from the Midlands, not far from Barnsley. He began his career at Rotherham. It's about 30 minutes from Barnsley, Xander, so you may know where it is already. He came up through the youth academy. He didn't make his professional debut until he was 21, was not rated inside the academy as someone who would actually get a professional contract and make it. Got his chance in the first team at age 21 and never gave the shirt up, so he played 130 games for Rotherham, earned a transfer to Blackpool, played 2 years for Blackpool, was signed as a central defender, but they offered him a job as right back when he started. He's a very unselfish guy, anything for the team, so he did that, became the captain of Blackpool, 2 years at Blackpool, again playing every game, which is when we signed him. So we signed him in 2009 to be the captain of Derby County. So Sean is not what you would call a luxurious defender. So at Man City, there's a defender who we hope will come off of injured reserve soon, named Aymeric Laporte, French national team. Or are there any Liverpool fans here? There we go. So Virgil van Dijk would be a luxurious defender. Sean was more of a kick it and head it kind of a guy. So more limited skills, but hugely influential on every game that he was in. And he was the captain. He was the one who brought it all together. You would tend to see him a little bit more like this in the next photo. This would be him in about 1 of every 4 games. But just tough as nails, play through anything. And but we had one game in March of 2012 that he couldn't play through, which is my next slide, which is we had a game against Nottingham Forest, which was the rival, a home game. There was a collision between the center forward, Marcus Tudgai for Forest, Frank Fielding, our goalkeeper, and Sean. And he was down for about 7 minutes. We thought that Sean had just broken his leg. It looked bad, and we said, we it sounds like he's broken his leg. That's the initial report, and this is horrible. He's going to be out for the season. What actually happened is he had dislocated his kneecap, and he had severed his 3 of his ligaments, all the ones that mattered. So it was a really, really serious injury. And not only was he not able to play for the rest of that season, but he had a huge recovery. Sean's recovery lasted about 4.5 years. And he had 3 more surgeries over the following 12 weeks, and he worked over those 4.5 years to get himself ready. He never did play again for Derby. The manager for Derby, Nigel Clough, picked him up and signed him at Burton Albion, which I think is my next photo. So here's him for Burton Albion. He spent his last 2 years there. He trained every day. He was always ready to play. He played sparingly in the youth team, the reserve team, usually in great pain after he played. And he ultimately just had 6 more appearances. So he had 5 in the 2016-17 season, and then 1 in the 2017-18 season before he retired. 2 of those appearances were beating Derby County, who didn't re-sign him, which I think was a lot of fun for him and everybody involved. But I wanted to bring Sean up because, as I said before, he was not the kid coming out of Rotherham that everybody expected would make it as a pro, and yet he did, and he played 350 games as a pro, captain of 2 teams, which is remarkable, and battled his way back, truly determined after this injury. And as I think about all of the players and the conversations I've had with them and countless other players, and certainly Sean's case is an obvious one, but even Kevin De Bruyne, they would all tell you about someone that they grew up with, someone they played youth soccer with, someone they played under 18s with even, who was more talented than they were. Someone who was blessed with better abilities. And they would tell you that the reason that they have been successful as a pro and advancing is that they were willing to work hard on the things that were strengths and also work hard on the things that were weaknesses. So there was a discipline and a determination, along with some talent, of course, and along with a passion that allowed them to get where they were. And it was definitely true in Sean's case. He was a warrior, and so that's why he's my favorite. But I think there's something in all of these players that allows them to get from having enough talent to doing all of the work to really advance and to be their best wherever that is. Okay, so that's about my experience. Let me just tell you briefly about our Charlotte MLS club. Why don't we flip to that next slide? Okay, this is 4 weeks ago. Was anybody there at the Mint Museum for this announcement? Fantastic. Great day. Commissioner Garber, David Tepper, Mayor Lyles. It's a huge moment. We don't know if they're going to do any more of these teams, and that's why we pushed so hard for it. We literally went from the back of the field a year ago, not in the conversation, really into the summer, not in the conversation, and then just catapulted ourselves to the front, which was a bit on purpose, but we also had to do all of our homework to make sure we knew it was going to be successful. We now know it is going to be successful. There are so many great indicators. One of the best ones is in 4 weeks we have deposits for more than 20,000 season tickets, which is a lot faster than Atlanta got out of the gate, and it's already bigger than the average attendance in the league, which is fantastic. And I know my colleagues at Table 11 would be wanting me to say something about, if you don't have a deposit yet, we will run out at some point, and they're very easy to do, and for $50 you can put down a deposit and for as many seats as you need, and if you change your mind you can get a refund. So there you go. But Dave is really excited. I think we have a photo of Dave excited on the day with some of our new fans. But I think what's important to know, we expect to build a great team, a winning team. And winning will be big crowds. Winning will also be on the pitch. We anticipated that we were going to be awarded this team a few months ago. And so we were preparing to have an organization that would be ready to go out and find the best talent in the Carolinas, the best talent in the US, the best talent around the world to bring into our first team. We want to have the best youth development as well. But in addition to winning and the commercial metrics, we're also going to define success in a couple of other ways. The impact that we have on our community is hugely important. Dave talked about it on that day. He talked about it when he came to the Carolina Panthers. I can't capture it any better than what Katie Phillips' organization said about 30 minutes ago, which is the power of soccer to make a difference in people's lives. So Katie, I know you're out there. We look forward to meeting you and finding how we can partner. But if we get this club right, it will make a difference in people's lives here in our city and our region. And then finally, we'll be with all of you and your organizations, your clubs, your high schools. We want to be partners with all of you. We want to add value to what you're already doing. And ultimately, if we do it together, we can be stronger and we can build a homegrown club of our own that we all can be proud of. And it's worth doing. So please join us. We want to do it together with you. It matters that you get involved, and we can build something amazing together. Thank you very much for allowing me to be a part of tonight. Congratulations again to the winners so far. Looking forward to the rest of the awards. Thank you very much.